Hi everyone, I am Mary Jane Kaplasyan and today I am going to discuss about the life story of Hercules. Who is Hercules? Hercules is the Roman name for the Greek hero Heracles, the most popular figure from the ancient Greek mythology. Hercules was the son of Zeus, king of the gods, and the mortal woman Alcmene. Zeus, who was always chasing one woman or another, took on the form of Alcmene's husband, Amphitryon, and visited Alcmene one night in her bed, and so Hercules was born, a demigod with incredible strength and stamina. He performed amazing feats, including wrestling death and traveling twice to the underworld, and his stories were told throughout Greece and later in Rome. Yet his life was far from easy from the moment of his birth, and his relationships with others were often disastrous. This was because Hera, the wife of Zeus, knew that Hercules was his husband's illegitimate son and sought to destroy him. In fact, he was born with the name Alceus and later took the name Heracles, meaning glory of Hera, signifying that he would become famous through his difficulties with the goddess. Hercules' early life. Hercules' personal problems started literally at birth. Hera sent two witches to prevent his birth, but they were tricked by one of Alcmene's servants and sent to another room. Hera then sent serpents to kill him in his cradle, but Hercules strangled them both. In one version of the myth, Alcmene abandoned her baby in the woods in order to protect him from Hera's wrath, but he was found by the goddess Athena, who brought him to Hera, claiming he was an orphan child left in the woods who needed nourishment. Hera suckled Hercules at her own breast until the infant bit her nipple, at which point she pushed him away, spilling her milk across the night sky and so forming the Milky Way. She then gave the infant back to Athena and told her to take care of the baby herself. In feeding the child from her own breast, the goddess inadvertently imbued him with a further strength and power. He was brought up at the court of his supposed father Amphitryon, where he had the best tutors in the land who taught him wrestling, horseback riding, fencing, archery, how to drive a chariot, play the lyre, and sing. Hercules did not know his own strength, however, and killed his music teacher, Linus, by hitting him with a lyre one day during an argument. The madness of Hera and the 12 labors. At this point in the story, Hercules was a young, successful hero, married and in time with 3 strong sons. Hera could not tolerate the situation and so sent upon him a madness in which he killed his children and in some versions Megara as well. He continued in his rage until Athena knocked him out with a stone, and when he came to, he was overwhelmed with grief at what he had done. He would have killed himself, but his cousin Theseus convinced him that that would be cowardly and that he must find a way to atone for his sins. Hercules consulted the oracle at Delphi, who told him that he must attach to his cousin Eurystheus, king of Terence and Mycenae, who would devise labors to expiate his sins. These labors originally numbered only 10 but later grew to 12. After Delphi, he was no longer known as Alceus and took the name Heracles. I will show you the video of the 12 labors of Hercules.
His first task is to defeat a lion that has been rampaging and killing locals in an area called Nemea, hereafter referred to as the Nemean lion. Hercules tried to shoot arrows, but its fur was impenetrable. He eventually knocked the creature down with his mighty club and strangled it to death. He needed the hide as proof, but since it was impenetrable, he had to use the beast's own claws to cut the fur from the body, giving him a fur that he is often seen wearing in art and sculptures. Hera didn't like the idea of Hercules succeeding at these tasks, so she rose a creature in a nearby swamp, a hydra which initially appeared like a giant snake-like creature. As he fought the hydra, he realized that each time he cut off the creature's head, 2 new heads would grow in its place, eventually resulting in a massive beast with many, many heads. He eventually discovered that he could burn the stumps to stop new heads from growing, though one of its heads was immortal, and he had to find a different way. So he crushed the head under a boulder to be hidden away forever. So let's talk for a second about King Eurystheus, who happened to be Hercules' cousin. And he was becoming quite upset that Hercules was conquering his challenges, which made him look like a fool. So if Hercules could kill every monster, let's figure out a monster he can't even catch. So Hercules was tasked with capturing the Ceryneian hind, a deer so fast that it could outrun arrows. Hercules chased it for an entire year. There's a few versions of how he captured it, some saying he managed to catch it sleeping, another that he was gifted the hind from the goddess Artemis. The fourth labor is another massive beast, this time the mighty Erymanthian boar, who Hercules managed to trap in a snowstorm and catch it that way. Eurystheus was terrified, and he hid inside a giant pithos, like a large jar. He realized this was a great place to hide, and would later resort to hiding here as to not hear the success stories that Hercules would bring back. For the fifth labor, they had to find something impossible to do, so they assigned Hercules to clean the stables of King Augeas. These animals were immortal and healthy, so the amount of excrement was immense, with over 1,000 cattle and 30 years without being cleaned. Hercules smartly noticed 2 nearby rivers that he could reroute to flood the area and wash the entire stables. King Eurystheus was upset and discounted this labor, as Hercules wasn't originally supposed to do 12, he was supposed to do 10. If Hercules could defeat one monster, what about a whole flock? For labor number 6, he was charged with eliminating the Stymphalian birds, large man-eating birds with metallic wings. They'd taken over an entire countryside and were murdering the local townspeople. They lived in a swamp that Hercules couldn't venture into, so instead he scared them from the trees and he shot them down with arrows, killing enough that they would fly away and never return. Labor number 7 was to capture the Cretan bull, a large bull terrifying the island of Crete. He strangled it, stopped just short of killing it, and then shipped it back to King Eurystheus alive. He wanted to sacrifice it to Hera, but she declined because killing it would honor the fact that Hercules caught it. It was released again into the wild. The 8th labor was to calm and capture a group of horses known as the mares of Diomedes. Diomedes was a king of Thrace who taught these horses to eat human flesh, and it drove them insane. So these horses were incredibly dangerous. Again, there's several stories, most of which end with Hercules feeding the king to his own horses, which calmed them long enough for Hercules to strap their mouths shut and then bring them to Eurystheus. Now at this point, Eurystheus was running low on ideas. Hercules was accomplishing every task he gave him. So when his own daughter came forward and said that she wanted the belt of Hippolyta, the queen of the Amazons, Eurystheus saw this as a perfect chance to have Hercules try to get it for her. So Hercules sailed to Themyscira, the land of the Amazons, and befriended Hippolyta. She liked him and she believed him, so she was going to give him the belt. However, all this time, Hera has been whispering in the ears of the other Amazons who thought Hercules was coming to kidnap the queen. When Hercules saw them rushing towards him, he thought it was an ambush, so he killed the queen, took her belt, and gifted it to the daughter of Eurystheus. What else could Eurystheus conjure up? How about the giant beast Geryon, a fabled monster with 3 heads? This beast had a fleet of cattle, and Hercules was tasked with stealing these cattle from him. All it took was 1 arrow, dipped in the poisonous blood from the Hydra that he killed long ago, and Geryon was downed. Hera tried everything in her power to stop the cattle, such as sicking flies on them and downpouring rain, so it took Hercules a full year, but he eventually got them to Eurystheus. Who else could Hercules steal from? Eurystheus decided to task Hercules with finding a place no mortal has ever gone, the Garden of Hesperides, to steal apples from the nymphs that lived there. No one should be able to accomplish this. Well, Hercules eventually found the garden and discovered Atlas there, who held the heavens on his shoulders. Atlas was actually related to these nymphs, so it'd be easy for him to get the apples. So Hercules agreed to hold the heavens, while Atlas got the apples. Well, Atlas wasn't about to go back to holding the heavens for eternity, so he wanted to take them himself to Eurystheus. Hercules saw a chance, and he said he'd agree to hold the heavens forever in Atlas's place. He just had to readjust his lion cloak to be comfortable. So Atlas took the heavens back for just a moment, but Hercules grabbed the apples and left him there. Is there anything Hercules can't do? For his last labor, Hercules was asked to capture and bring the three-headed dog Cerberus to the king. Cerberus is the guardian to the underworld, keeping the dead there. Hades, who controls the underworld, told Hercules that he could take him, as long as Hercules was able to subdue Cerberus without weapons. Hercules did just that, slinging the dog over his back and bringing him to Eurystheus, who hid again inside his giant jar. Eurystheus, in fear, said that Hercules was finished serving him and his labors were completed. Now there are many other adventures of Hercules that take place before.
So that is the 12 labors of Hercules. So further adventures and slavery. Hercules was now free to do as he pleased with his life, and after all he had accomplished, it might be thought that he would now be able to enjoy his days in peace. This would not be so. Whether through the trickiness of Hera or his own temper and lack of restraint, Hercules would endure further troubles. Struck again by Hera with madness, Hercules killed the prince Iphitus of Oichalia and was told by the oracle that he must sell himself as a slave to atone for his sin. He became the property of the Queen Omphale of Lydia, who made the hero dressed in women's clothing and do needlework with the other ladies of the court. Omphale eventually took him as her lover and then set him free. He then went on the expedition to Troy, which with the help of other heroes he conquered long before the Trojan War, and then became involved in a war with the Titans of Sicily. The Titans had been defeated centuries before by Zeus, but had risen again, and according to prophecy, the gods could only win this time with the help of a mortal hero. Hercules helped to defeat the Titans and rescued the world from chaos and the gods from imprisonment. He then sailed back to Greece to get revenge on Aegeus for refusing to honor his agreement when he cleaned out the stables. Hercules was defeated in this battle because he was still weakened from the war with the Titans. He left Aegeus' land and then, after further adventures, landed in Calydon, where he met and fell in love with the princess Deianira, the sister of Meleager. He had to wrestle the river god Achilles for her hand and won, and so was married. Deianira and marriage. So Deianira and Hercules lived happily for a time in Calydon until he accidentally killed his father-in-law's cupbearer. Although it was an accident, he was forgiven by the king. Hercules could not forgive himself and so decided to leave the city with Deianira. They reached the river Evenus, and there he met the centaur Nessus, who offered to carry Deianira across on his back. However, he tried to rape her, and Hercules shot him with one of his arrows. These were the same arrows Hercules had dipped in the blood of Hydra. And the centaur was dying quickly when he told Deianira that his blood possessed a special quality as a love potion, and that he should take some of it in a vial. If ever she felt that Hercules was losing interest in her, he said she should sprinkle the blood on his shirt and he would be in love with her forever. However, it is the other way around. It is deadly for mortal. Hercules and Deianira settled in the city of Trachis, started a family, and again were happy for a time until Hercules went to war against Eurytus, who, like Aegeus, had insulted him earlier in life. He killed Eurytus and took his daughter Luli, whom he had won before in archery contest but been refused as his concubine. Another version of the myth relates how he helped Artemis kill a boar which was ravaging the kingdom and was given Luli as a gift. Hercules then prepared a victory feast and sent a word to Deianira to send him his best shirt to wear at the festival. Deianira, fearing that Hercules was fonder of Luli now than of her, soaked the shirt in the blood of Nessus and then washed away the stains, leaving only the poison. As soon as Hercules put the shirt on, he was seized with agony and began to burn. He tore the shirt from his body, but the poison was already grafted to his skin. The death of Hercules. Since he was a demigod, he could not die quickly and so suffered as the poison penetrated his body, and he became weaker and weaker. Dinara, realizing she had been tricked by Dionysus and had killed her husband, hanged herself. Hercules climbed Mount Etna where he built his own funeral pyre in a clearing, gave away his possessions, and then lay down with his head resting on his club and the Nemean lion's skin covering him. Then the torches were lit and the pyre took flames. So the legacy of Hercules. So Hercules left the earth to live eternally among the gods. His life was not always a happy one, even though he had a god for a father, and his daily struggles and relationships were not made easier by his strength. Even though he was able to accomplish great deeds, this did not make him immune to those disappointments and dark times that are part of a human experience. So Hercules serves as symbol of the human condition. An interesting aspect of Hercules' character is that because of his divine strength and abilities, he did not have to willingly submit to any of the labors or punishments imposed upon him. He chose to suffer indignities such as his 12 labors or his servitude to the queen Omphale, which he did so willingly. His inner strength and ability to endure hardships made him an inspirational figure to the people and a symbol of stability in the midst of chaos, even if it was a chaos he himself had caused. So the moral lesson of the story is everyone has monsters they need to conquer and seemingly impossible tasks that are faced with and tragedies that seem too hard to bear. A man can be destroyed but not defeated. Then life is made up of a very difficult maze. It may confuse and bring you at the wrong way, but always trust God and believe in yourself. The process might be painful and hard to pass, but always trust the process. It will help you to be strong and brave to face the future you will take. Thank you.